In 1976, Unitarian Universalist minister and theologian Rebecca Parker was on a cross-country road trip, traveling with her friend on their way to seminary. They had time, so they decided to take some back roads, including one that took them through rural western Pennsylvania. Late in the day, they came down through hill country and into a valley. It had been pouring rain, and as they neared a small town, they noticed some blinking yellow lights warning of danger. They saw fields covered in standing water and passed several side roads blocked off, saying, "Road closed." "Looks like they've had a flood here," they said to themselves. Coming into town, they crossed a bridge over a wide river. The water was high, muddy, and flowing fast. Sandbags lined the roadway. "Gosh," they said, "they must have had quite a bit of high water to contend with here. Looks like it was a major flood." They headed out of town, following a winding country road, captivated by the evidence all around them that there had been a dramatic flood. Then they rounded a bend, and in front of them, suddenly, a sheet of water covered the roadway. The water was rising fast, like a huge silver balloon being inflated before their very eyes. The two friends stopped and started to turn their car around, but the water was rising behind them as well. Suddenly, they realized, a little too late, the flood had not happened yesterday nor last week. It was happening here and now. Dry ground was disappearing fast. They quickly climbed out of their car and scrambled up to higher ground. Soaked to the bone now, they huddled under a fir tree. No longer were they safe in their familiar vehicle. The cold water of the storm poured down on them, baptizing them into the present, a present from which they had been insulated by both their car and their misjudgments about the country they had been traveling through. This is how it is to be a middle-class person, maybe a middle-class white person in America, except instead of thinking the worst has already happened, we are still waiting for the worst that is yet to come. A friend of mine who was in the upper echelons of a well-known, shall we say, very well-known national, largely white-led feminist organization, told me that when the Dobbs decision was leaked, the leaders of that very well-known national feminist organization were completely blindsided. They assumed abortion access was safe and would continue to be safe. My friend reported to me from her place in the inside that many of those leaders thought Chief Justice John Roberts would save abortion because of the illusion he maintains that he is adherent to precedent. Now that was the collective mind of a people who had enjoyed a right for so long, who had driven for so long on dry land, that they could not understand that the water was about to overtake them, not in the past nor in some distant future, but right now. In 1993, Octavia Butler published what was going to be the first of 3 novels in her Earthseed series, a new Bible for after the fall of the American Empire. The protagonist of her series is a young black girl named Lauren Olamina, who survives in a dystopian America in a suburb of Los Angeles with her family. Now, in this dystopian American world, in the novel, The Parable of the Sower, water and all social services have now been privatized. Professional jobs no longer pay enough for individual families to survive. Gated communities have now become walled bunkers where food and resources are often shared amongst the neighbors, but each walled community must fight off thieves and interlopers from different neighborhoods. And Lauren, the main character, the 15-year-old girl, suffers from a psychic condition called hyperempathy, causing her to feel the pain of anyone else's pain who is in her presence, making her vulnerable and weak when she is relied upon to fight and scavenge for resources. And though her father is one of the last remaining Baptist preachers, she senses the relevance of his God fading away in this new reality. And so over the course of the book, she develops and documents a new religion called Earthseed. Now, Lauren is pragmatic, and though she acutely feels the pain of her surroundings, she constructs a faith that she can rely on in a post-Revelation society. And as the first novel opens, Parable of the Sower, the year of this dystopian future is 2024. It is basically now. And in so many ways, the writer, Octavia Butler, has been an oracle of our time. And so for our own preparation and our own resilience, I recommend you read the 2 books of her series. I believe UUCA is running a book club of Parable of the Sower right now. Sadly, Octavia Butler suddenly passed away before she began work on the 3rd novel in the series. And so we must draw our own conclusions. We must provide our own answers to the question of what happens next. The opening line of young Lauren's religious text, which is called Earthseed, the Book of the Living, goes like this: all that you touch, you change. All that you change, changes you. The only lasting truth is change. God is change. See, pain, isolation, and violence are really not the natural outcomes of a post-apocalyptic world. The truth is, while many Christians spend their religious energy preparing for an apocalypse yet to come, living in fear and preparing souls for a mass death event or a mass disruption to our world as we know it, many other cultures have already lived through their own end times. And for Black Americans, for Jewish diasporic people across the globe, for Indigenous Americans, the worst thing that could ever happen to a people has already happened. It is the colonizers who still fear the end of relentless progress, who worry about the day when they will no longer be the ones who hold the power. So if you really want to prepare your soul in your life for climate change, look to the speculative fiction of Afrofuturism. Pay attention to the people who were attempted to be wiped from this earth, but whose ancestors survived anyway. For many people, to have an ancestral lineage that has survived Middle Passage and slavery is cause for great hope. Not tragedy, but great hope. To have survived the Holocaust, as one of our members, B.B. Forehand, has done, the attempted annihilation of your people, well, that is cause for great hope. To be a living child of the lineage of people who endured the mass extinction of American colonization and the Trail of Tears, well, that is cause for great hope. Amen? Amen. This is the hope that is found in those stunning acts of kindness and camaraderie in New York City on September 12, 2001. This is the hope found in beautiful acts of sacrifice and communalism in the days after Hurricane Katrina. I know we don't often hear those stories. We hear the other narrative of the destruction and the selfishness, but I promise you those stories of communalism and support and resilience are a part of that rebuilding. The acceptance of apocalypse, it tends to arrive in small increments, not often like the waters rising for Rebecca Parker and her friend that day on the road. Realizing the world that has gone before may be lost or becoming lost. But after a great revelation, a great reveal, uncovering, after the previous life has fallen away, those who remain have a beautiful task ahead of them. It is the task of reimagining and building an entirely new world, which can sound exhausting. But I believe that it can be the most creative work of our time, of our human story. It is what scientist and feminist social scholar Donna Haraway calls worlding. Has anyone ever heard of that term? Worlding. It's kind of a postmodern term. She writes, Haraway underscores the importance of science fiction. Science fiction, she writes, is both storytelling and it is fact-telling. It is the patterning of possible worlds and possible times, material semiotic worlds that are gone, here, and yet to come. Haraway talks about the possibilities when humanity can become playful and can communally experience ourselves as true kin with all species, as we imagine with all species a new world and a new society. Haraway continually focuses on the need for symbiosis with cultures, with plants, with animals, and even with robots to reimagine a new society altogether, constantly in harmonious conversation with the resources around us. Harmonious conversation, symbiosis, not just reaping, not just pillaging, not just using. If we can look at the people and the cultures that have found ways to persist, despite the violence of colonization, genocide, and enslavement, well, we might all find the secret to our survival lies in the playful and heart-centered work of world building. What I'm saying is, those of us who have relied on the relentless ascension of our economic progress and our generational wealth, well, we may need to radically transform the dreams we have for ourselves and for our children. If we have to decrease our consumption of resources, if we now have to learn the skills of foraging for food, has anyone seen The Black Forager? Alexis, I can't remember her name right now, but she's amazing. I love The Black Forager. She lives in Ohio, Columbus, and she was on Jimmy Kimmel recently teaching him how to forage. She's on TikTok and Instagram. But anyway, if we have to learn those skills of foraging for our food, or God forbid, downsize to one car, it's not the end of the world. That's what I'm saying. That's not the end of the world. It's the beginning of a new one. There are days when I simply cannot understand our allegiance to insurance companies and the privatization of our healthcare system. Anyone else? I mean, we have been through a pandemic. The time has come for us to call time of death for our current healthcare system. Just call it. I mean, what is it we've all been afraid could happen under socialized medicine? That we would have to wait in long lines to see our doctors? That we would not be able to choose our own providers? Friends, the waters have risen. We are no longer on dry land. For those of you who are not on Medicare, when was the last time you were able to get a same day or even same week or even same month appointment with the provider you wanted? I mean, when? When was the last time your insurance provided full coverage for a medical procedure you required? We are already in the healthcare apocalypse. I hope we are. I mean, what are we holding on to? Single-payer healthcare will save and prolong lives. If not now, post-pandemic, then I ask when? And African American feminist organizations, such as Atlanta's own Sister Song and the Feminist Women's Healthcare, have been preparing for the end of the Supreme Court's protection of abortion for a very long time. They did not assume the court nor the government would continue to protect access to reproductive justice. And so when the Dobbs decision came down, they were already prepared. They were already ready to adapt to the new reality. Their heads were not in the sand. What if we were to worship gods of change, change itself, change as a mighty force to be harnessed, the awesome power of adaptation that we see everywhere, not only in people, but in plants and animals, the playful joy of worlding. What would worshiping change require of us spiritually, communally, and materially? That's the question. Salvation. Salvation awaits us, yes, but not in the next life, not in the next world, in this one. Salvation is found in ideas we have not yet encountered, collective imagining we never could accomplish on our own, survival strategies we never could have come up with alone, sharing economies we have not yet dreamed of, my friends. The beauty of our connectivity, the unending possibilities of kindness and empathy made policy. That is salvation. Now, the waters may be rising around us, not in some past or future era, but now. So welcome. Welcome to this world. Welcome to the post-Darwinian world. It is a better world. I mean, we can do better than survival of the fittest. We can do better than survival of the most dominant. All that you change changes you. We need all of our voices to be heard, and we need all of us to survive. Amen.